Let me tell you something powerful today. When God chooses to fight for someone, no force in hell, no storm on earth, and no enemy in the shadows can stop her victory. There is a woman, maybe you are that woman, who walks with an unseen army backing her every move. She doesn't fight alone because the Lord of hosts goes before her. Every battle she faces, every tear she cries, every attack that comes her way, He steps in and says, "This one belongs to me." Today, I'm going to give you 12 signs that God Himself fights for this woman. And when you hear them, if they resonate in your soul, get ready, because your breakthrough is closer than you think. Have you ever been in a moment where you felt like you had nothing left to give? Where every ounce of energy was drained, every plan failed, and all you could think was, "I can't do this anymore." If you've been there, let me tell you something. What feels like your breaking point is often the place where God steps in with His power. The very moment you feel too weak to fight is the moment heaven begins to fight for you. So let this sink in. Your weakness is not the end of your story. It's the stage for His strength to show off. Sometimes God allows you to come to the end of yourself because He wants you to see that victory doesn't come from your own strength, your own resources, or your own strategies. It comes when you surrender, when you admit, "I can't do this without you." And that's when something shifts. That's when His supernatural strength invades your natural weakness. Think about this. Battles aren't won because you have the most energy. They're won because you have the greatest backup. And your backup is the Lord of hosts, the commander of heaven's armies. When He fights for you, it doesn't matter how tired you feel, how outnumbered you are, or how impossible the odds look. When you can't, He can. When you feel like you're falling apart, He holds you together. When your strength runs out, His strength takes over. You know why some of your enemies are confused? Because they expected you to break by now. They thought the pressure would crush you. They thought the betrayal would stop you. They thought the storm would sink you. But what they didn't know is that you have a secret weapon. When you're weak, you're not done. You're just making room for God to move. Your weakness is an invitation for His power to take center stage. Here's the truth. If you were strong enough to handle everything on your own, you wouldn't need Him. But when you feel empty, when you feel powerless, when you feel like giving up, that's when He whispers, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." Perfect. Did you catch that? Not average, not halfway. Perfect. That means your lowest moment can become the platform for your greatest testimony, because it's the place where God shows off His perfection through your imperfection. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a runner at the last mile of a marathon, sweat pouring, lungs burning, legs trembling. Everything in them says, "Quit." And then out of nowhere, they feel a surge of energy that didn't come from training or willpower. It came from something beyond them. That's what happens when God fights for you. When your tank is empty, He fills it with strength you didn't know you had. When you're ready to collapse, He becomes the wind beneath your feet. So don't misinterpret your weakness. It's not a sign that you're finished. It's a sign that God is about to show His power in your life in a way that no one can deny. Because when you rise again, when you keep moving forward, when you accomplish what looked impossible, people will have only one explanation: God did it. Have you ever felt like life knocked the wind out of you? You had plans, you had dreams, you had everything lined up. And suddenly everything fell apart. The door slammed shut. The relationship ended. The opportunity vanished. And in that moment you wondered, why me? Why now? But listen closely. What you think is a setback might be the greatest setup of your life. Sometimes God has to close a door because He knows the hallway you're standing in isn't your final destination. What if that disappointment was really a divine appointment? What if the delay was protection? What if the loss was actually a launch pad? You see, God is a master architect. He doesn't build your destiny on broken foundations. If something crumbled, it's because He's preparing to rebuild it stronger. If something ended, it's because he's about to begin something bigger than you imagined. Here's what I want you to catch. Every time life pushes you back, it's building up momentum for a greater move forward. Think about an arrow in the hands of an archer. Before that arrow soars toward the target, what happens? It gets pulled backward. The farther it's pulled back, the farther it flies when it's released. So if you feel like life has pulled you back, don't panic. Don't quit. Don't assume you're going backward. You're just being positioned for a powerful launch. That breakup, it didn't step break you. Positioned you. That job loss, it wasn't step rejection, it was redirection. That closed door, it steps not the end, it steps the preparation for a better opening. You think you step stuck, but God says, I step setting you up for something bigger than you asked for. Let me ask you this. How many times have you cried over something that didn't work out, only to look back years later and say, thank God it didn't? That's because you were focused on what you lost. But God was focused on what you were about to gain. The setback wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to develop you. It was training ground for the territory you're about to walk into. Think about Joseph in the pit. He was betrayed, sold, forgotten, and falsely accused. Every step looked like a setback. Every step felt like a failure. But every single one of those steps was leading him to the palace. If he hadn't been thrown in the pit, he never would have made it to the throne. Your story is no different. The very thing that feels like it's breaking you could be the thing that's building you for your destiny. You see, we love the idea of promotion, but we hate the process. Yet the process is where strength is built. The process is where character is formed. The process is where God equips you for the weight of the blessing you're about to carry. Because if he gave it to you too soon, it would crush you instead of bless you. So what looks like a step back is actually a season of preparation. Don't mistake delay for denial. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. It means God is aligning things in your favor behind the scenes. It means he's clearing obstacles you can't see. It means he's preparing rooms your name is about to walk into. And when the release comes, it's going to make sense why you had to wait, why you had to cry, and why you had to go through what you went through. Have you ever wondered why, in the middle of life's chaos, some people crumble while others stand calm like an unshaken mountain? What is it that keeps a person steady when the storm is roaring, the waves are crashing, and everything seems to be falling apart? Let me tell you, it's not because they're stronger, smarter, or luckier. It's because they have something most people don't. A peace that doesn't make sense. A peace that can't be explained. A peace that isn't natural. It's supernatural. Picture this. The bills are piling up. The doctor gave a bad report. Relationships are breaking down, and yet there you are, not panicking, not losing your mind, not giving up, but calm, steady, and full of hope. That's the kind of peace only God can give. And when you carry that kind of peace, it's proof that he is fighting for you. Because human strength cannot manufacture that. Pills can't give it, people can't give it, and possessions can't give it. This kind of peace is heaven sent. If the enemy can't take your peace, he can't take your future. The real battle is not about your money, your health, or your relationships. It's about your mind. Because if the enemy can disturb your peace, he can distract you from your purpose. That's why one of the greatest signs that God is with you is when you walk through chaos with confidence. When you walk into a storm and still keep your smile. When everyone else is panicking but you're praising. When others see a problem but you see a promise. Don't miss this. Peace is not the absence of trouble. Peace is the presence of God in the middle of trouble. Anybody can be calm when everything is perfect. Anybody can smile when life is good. But it takes a supernatural advantage to keep your head high when the world feels heavy. And that advantage is knowing who's fighting for you, knowing that you're not alone, knowing that no matter what comes, you have a God who never loses a battle. So the question is, what's stealing your peace? Is it fear of the future? Is it anxiety about what people think? Is it worry about things you can't control? Whatever it is, understand this. You can't control the storm, but you can control what you focus on. When your eyes are on the storm, you sink. When your eyes are on God, you soar. That's why peace isn't about ignoring the problem. It's about magnifying the one who's bigger than the problem. Think of it like this. A ship doesn't sink because of the water around it. It sinks because water gets inside. Life is the same way. Problems don't destroy you just because they're around you. They destroy you when they get inside your heart and mind. And the only way to keep the water out is to guard your peace. That's why the enemy throws chaos your way. That's why he stirs up drama, fear, and confusion, because he knows if you lose your peace, you lose your power. But here's the good news. When God fights for you, he gives you peace that passes all understanding. Peace that doesn't make sense to people watching you. Peace that makes people ask, how are you still smiling? Peace that keeps you from breaking down when life tries to break you apart. Because that peace isn't coming from you. It's coming from him. And as long as you keep that peace, no storm can sink you. No battle can beat you. And no weapon formed against you. Have you ever slammed into a closed door and thought, what did I do wrong? You prayed for it. You prepared for it. You were sure it was yours. Then suddenly it was gone, taken, shut, locked. And you were left standing there confused and frustrated, wondering why it happened. Let me drop a truth on you. When a door closes, it's not rejection, it's redirection. It's not punishment, it's protection. Sometimes the best blessing God gives you is the door he refuses to let you walk through. Think about that for a second. We cry over doors that close because we can't see what's behind them. But God does. He knows what you don't. He sees the traps you can't see, the heartbreak you can't handle, the destruction you can't avoid. That's why he says no when you desperately want a yes. And that no might just save your life. So if something closed, stop looking at it like a curse. It might be the greatest act of love God ever showed you. What you think is a dead end is often a divine detour. And divine detours always lead to destiny. Because here's what we miss. Closed doors create space for bigger openings. God never closes something without having something better ready. But the problem is we stare at the closed door so long that we miss the new one swinging wide open behind us. Imagine this, you apply for a job you're sure is perfect. You pray, you interview, you dream about it, and then you get the email. We've decided to go with another candidate. Your heart sinks. You feel crushed. But months later, you land an opportunity so big that if you had gotten the first one, you never would have been available for this one. That's how God works. Closed doors don't mean you're forgotten. They mean you're being prepared. Here's a real challenge. Can you trust him when you don't understand him? Can you keep praising when the door you wanted just slammed in your face? Can you believe that his plan is better than your preference? Because if you can, then you'll discover that every closed door is part of a bigger strategy. A door closes because the hallway you're in isn't strong enough to hold the weight of where you're going. Let me say this loud and clear. Closed doors don't define your worth. Too many people tie their identity to the opportunity they lost. That relationship ending, it doesn't mean you're unlovable. That business deal falling through, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It means God saw something you couldn't and decided to protect you from settling for less than his best. Sometimes God has to break your plans before they break you. Sometimes he has to let something end so he can introduce something that fits your destiny. Because what's coming next requires a stronger you, a wiser you, a prepared you, and you can't become that person if you're still stuck at the last door. So stop banging on doors that God locked for your protection. Stop asking him to bless what he already blocked. Trust that every closed door has purpose. Trust that his plan is bigger than the disappointment. Trust that he knows what's ahead, even when you can't see past what just ended. Because the next door he opens won't just make sense. It'll make you forget every single one that ever closed. Have you ever wondered why your story had to include so much pain? Why you had to cry tears nobody saw? Why you went through things you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy? Maybe you've asked, what was the point of all that? Here's the truth. Your pain is not wasted. Your scars are not meaningless. Everything you survived is going to serve a purpose far bigger than you. Because what you went through is going to help someone else get through what they're facing. Let this sink in. Your greatest ministry will often come out of your greatest misery. The very thing that tried to break you will become the reason somebody else believes they can make it. The pain you endured will become the proof that God is still a healer, still a restorer, still a deliverer. You see, people can argue with your opinion, but they can't argue with your testimony. When you say, I've been there and I survived, that speaks louder than 1,000 motivational quotes. Your story is someone else's survival guide. There's a woman right now praying for strength, and the answer to her prayer might be your testimony. There's a man wondering if he can recover after losing everything, and your comeback will give him hope. That's why the enemy fought you so hard, because he knew if you made it through, you'd inspire others to do the same. He wasn't just attacking you, he was trying to silence every life your story will touch. Think about it. Why did you survive what others didn't? Why did you come out of what crushed so many people? Because your life isn't just about you. There is a generation connected to your obedience. There are lives tied to your victory. If you quit, they lose hope. If you stay silent, they stay stuck. But if you rise, they rise too. That's why your pain had purpose. It was preparing you to become a voice, a light and a guide for others walking through darkness. Let me tell you something powerful. The things you thought disqualified you might be the very things God uses to qualify you. Those mistakes, someone needs to hear that they can be forgiven. That heartbreak, someone needs to know they can love again. That battle with depression, someone needs proof that joy can return. The scars you tried to hide might become the evidence that helps someone else believe healing is possible. This is why your perspective matters. If you only see your pain as punishment, you'll stay bitter. But if you see your pain as preparation, you'll stay hopeful. You'll realize every tear watered the seeds of your future. Every sleepless night strengthened your faith. Every failure taught you wisdom that no book could ever teach. And now you're carrying something inside of you that can set others free. So the next time you ask, why me? Flip the question. Ask, who can I help because of what I went through? Because that's the real reason behind it all. God doesn't waste pain. Every wound becomes a weapon when you put it in his hands. Every scar becomes a story that will speak life to someone on the edge of giving up. And when they see you standing, smiling, thriving after everything you faced, they'll know that if you made it, they can too. What would change in your life if you stopped walking like a victim and started walking like a victor? What would shift if you woke up every morning and declared, I already have the victory before the day even began? Let this hit you. Victory is not something you're waiting to achieve, it's something you already have because God declared it over your life before the battle even started. You are not fighting for victory, you're fighting from victory. That changes everything. Think about how many times fear has tried to paralyze you. How many times the enemy whispered, you can't make it, you can't win, you can't overcome this. But what would happen if you answered back, I already won? Because the truth is, the fight is fixed. The outcome is decided. The scoreboard already says you win. So why are you walking like you've been defeated? Why are you letting temporary problems make you forget eternal promises? Your posture determines your power. If you walk around slouched in defeat, talking like you've lost, thinking like the enemy has the upper hand, you'll live beneath the level God destined for you. But the moment you shift your mindset and walk like the victor you already are, everything around you starts to change. You speak differently. You pray differently. You show up with confidence because you know the one who backs you up never loses a battle. Picture this. A boxer steps into the ring knowing the fight is fixed in his favor. Do you think he stresses over every punch? Do you think he panics when he gets hit? No, because he knows the end result is guaranteed. That's you. Life will swing at you. Storms will hit. Battles will come. But you don't have to lose your peace because you already know how the story ends. The enemy may land a punch, but he can't win the match. And here's something powerful. When you walk like a victor, you intimidate the enemy. He thrives on fear. He feeds on insecurity. But when you stand tall, when you speak faith instead of fear, when you declare promises instead of problems, he knows he can't break you. The greatest threat to your enemy is a believer who knows they're already victorious, because that kind of believer is unstoppable. Stop waiting to feel victorious before you act like it. Victory is not a feeling, it's a fact. You won't always feel strong. You won't always feel confident. But your feelings don't dictate your future, your faith does. And faith says, even if I don't see it yet, I believe it. Even if I don't feel it yet, I walk in it. So when you step into that meeting, walk like the deal is already done. When you face that challenge, stand like you've already conquered it. When you go after that dream, move like it's already yours. Let me tell you why this matters. How you carry yourself determines what you attract. If you carry defeat, you attract defeat. If you carry victory, you attract favor, opportunities, and breakthroughs. That's why you can't let life trick you into shrinking back. You can't let failure convince you to give up. You can't let fear make you hide when faith is telling you to fight, because you weren't created to barely make it. You were created to win.